All right, we are live. Hello and welcome. And I jump right into today's program. Today, like I've never seen so many immigration changes be announced in one immigration announcement with such immediate impact on immigrants. Study permit applications for Canada are on hold. Families may have to change their entire plans to come to Canada because their spouses may no longer be able to come on a work permit. People hoping to attend school in May or September may have to defer because study permits are on pause. And quite frankly, some private colleges may go out of business. They may have to close their doors just because of these changes. Now, if you have questions or concerns, or you're thinking about, oh my gosh, these changes, how do they affect me? Stick with us to the end while we talk about these changes. This is an open, live discussion for you guys to be able to chime in, tell me how these changes have impacted you, how you feel. So stick with me to the end, ask your questions, and we have a lineup of questions that we're going to address as we go along. So welcome and thank you for joining us today. If you don't know me, I am Christina, your friendly Canadian immigrant, and this is I've been in the immigration system for at least 10 years through my own journey, and then after that helping people with their journey, and here I am today still talking about it today. So in my 10-year history of being a Canadian immigrant, I've never seen such drastic changes with such immediate impact being put into effect so immediately in my history. But let us not count COVID. Let's not count COVID. Right? So as you guys filter in, of course, drop in the chat, tell me where you're from, tell me where you are, so I can say hi to you. Some people I think are at least in Canada. I think there's some people over here in Canada. Hey, Monique down in Trinidad. Hi. And we have a lineup of questions here that I want to go through. But I have a question for you guys. I want to know how you guys feel. I want to know how this has impacted you, and I want to know how you guys feel and if this will change how you feel about being in Canada, coming to Canada still. So hi in Ottawa. Hey, Adrian. How you doing? Hello in Barbados over there. So there's people on Zoom and there's people on YouTube. So if you're over here on YouTube with me, chat with me. Hi, Colin. Tell me where you are zooming in from. And I will do a quick recap of these changes just in case there's anybody on here who is not in the loop just yet. All right. So first of all, they've been throwing around this idea of introducing a cap for international students. And we were like, okay, well, maybe they're going to put a cap in, we don't know. But now it is announced that they'll cap the number of international students that they allow in Canada in 2023. So that cap now, the number is 364,000 permits that they will approve in 2023, which is a 35% reduction in what they had issued last year in 2023. Did I just say 2023 twice? So 2024, we're in 2024. Right? But some provinces like Ontario, the minister called out Ontario, the minister called out BC, will see an even greater reduction. So this 364,000 will be kind of stretched out across all the provinces with like about a 50 or 55% reduction, I think he said, in provinces like Ontario and BC. So hint, hint, if you're looking to go to Canada school, these are not good provinces to look for, just saying. So that's one. International students cap, the number has been capped, meaning that there's a limit on the number of students that they will allow to come into Canada. The second change, attending a private college will no longer make you eligible for a postgraduate work permit. The third change, open work permits will no longer be issued to spouses of students outside of those who are attending a doctorate or a graduate level program. They weren't clear on, well, let's say doctorate or masters. We don't know if there are some graduate level programs that will be in this basket of people who are eligible or ineligible. But for the most part, it seems like spouses will not be getting work permits to come along with students outside of a master's and a doctorate. And then they said they will be issuing longer work permits for shorter graduate level or master's degree programs. So they will give you like a 3-year work permit, even if you did a master's that is for like 1 year, which is atypical, right? Usually it's 1 year work permit, 1 year go to school. Now they're throwing around different terms and all of that stuff because I think they're still figuring things out. Honestly, think they are still figuring things out. So let me just drop in the chat here to say hi. Hello. Hi, Kim. You don't like the third change. The third change was the permits. That is one of the biggest changes that I would never have been able to anticipate that. I did not see that coming at all. So I can appreciate your sentiment, Kim, that you don't like the change. But Kim said that it does not affect, this doesn't change her feelings and she still wants to come to Canada. So that's hopeful. Anybody else in the chat, just let me know if these changes will change your plans or if it affects how you feel about coming to Canada. Cool. Colin, let me know where you are. Let me know where you are in terms of, are you in Canada right now or are you in another country? And answer the question for me in the chat, both on Zoom and over here on YouTube. Will these changes affect how you feel about moving to Canada? Will they change your plans immediately? Hi, Mitch from Uganda. Monique, not giving up. Yes, Monique, don't give up. And Monique has been a faithful subscriber since 2019, and she's here strong, still going, still believing and committed in her to the dream. And so I'm proud of you, Monique. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. Not sure. Kim is not sure of her options for now for her significant other, of course. Kim is not sure of her options, and we have good old faithful Rochelle on here. Colin. Hey, girl.
Hey, Christina. I didn't know my name hadn't changed. Oh my.
I want to welcome a faithful subscriber from 2019, Rochelle Thomas on here. From Jamaica. She's in Canada now. She's in Quebec. She was our immigrant story feature of the month in October. Was it October?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And she told me about her journey. So now she's now a postgraduate work permit holder in Canada, and she's joining me today to do this Q&A, talk about these changes. You were one of the first people I called when these changes, and as soon as I call you, she just started laughing on the phone.
Oh my goodness. It's crazy. It's crazy. But the thing about it is now I don't feel alone because first, remember that Quebec was the only province that you had to get an attestation letter. So when I was originally doing my application to come here, I had to apply for a CAQ. And if you don't know what that is, it would be a good time to check out that immigration story. So I had to apply for a certificate of acceptance here in Quebec before I could apply for the study permit. And we're seeing that concept is now being applied to all the other provinces. So I'm no longer alone, girl.
Yes, you're no longer alone, and you are probably the only person who now is in the network and online here that has actually gone through this process. So let us talk a little bit about this attestation letter thing, right? So one of the questions today is how do I go about getting an attestation letter, which is a great question. So let us learn from Quebec. So what the process for you was first apply to school, get into school. Now you can pick up from there. How did you go about this? Is it called an attestation letter? No, it's called something.
It's called a certificate, Quebec acceptance certificate, or a certificate d'acceptance, d'acceptation, d'acceptation. My French teacher would be.
That's all like Spanish to me.
Certificate d'acceptation du Quebec. And so essentially what I had to do was to apply on the Quebec province's government website.
Okay.
For this particular certificate.
So it wasn't like an immigration.
It wasn't federal. It wasn't CIC. It wasn't IRCC's website. No, it was the province's website that we had to go to apply for this acceptance letter. And I'm assuming that might be the modus operandi for the rest of the provinces.
Okay. Yes, that sounds true. I think in my last video I said if they need to implement this thing real quick, they can go to their cousin Quebec and ask Quebec how they do it, and then just kind of implement, because Quebec has been doing this, it's been working. How do you remember how long it took for you to get that attestation? Let us call it an attestation letter for now.
Yeah, in quotes. I think it took about a couple weeks to a month thereabout to get the application, post submitting all the things that you needed to.
A month.
About round about that time. I would probably have to like jump into my email to kind of see the communication. Actually, I can do better than that. What I'll do, I'll log into my account because we can do that.
Okay,
I'll
we're
log
live.
into my
It's live.
account
It's happening. Yes, you
and
can do that.
you could probably take some questions in the meanwhile while I do that. And I'll
Well, there
see
is
if I
another
can.
question. I don't know if you can write and whistle.
Okay, let's see.
What do you remember what you had to submit to get that attestation letter from the province?
So I had to submit um my letter from my letter from my letter of acceptance from the school. Okay, I'm in. So I had to submit my letter of acceptance, my letter of admission rather, from the school. I had to also submit my passport.
Okay.
And then there was this form that you had to fill out. And what is this? Déclaration, engagement et autorisation. So there was another form that we had to submit. I submitted all these in June. Yeah, in June. And then, okay, let's see what this is. Okay, so my passport, letter of admission, declaration, commitment, and authorization form.
And that is just a form that they provided, Quebec
Correct.
province provided, and you just filled it out with your information.
Correct. Yes. And now I'm trying to see when did I get the
All right. So while you figure out why they got it back, hi Dwayne, big up yourself. Hi, thanks for joining. Kim, someone coming on a study for 4-year degree with no spouse to offset the cost like rent, food, cannot pay for school and survive alone on a 20 hours a week. This is true, Kim. This is true. It rough out there in the streets, man.
rough bad.
Rough out there in the street.
Rough bad.
If I had to, if you put me down and say, like, make an assumption, make a wild guess at what immigration will do for this international, I would never, ever, 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 ever have thought that this spousal work permit thing would have been shot in the foot. I did not see that coming at all.
Because Canada has always been big on family.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of seems like an attack on families, to use the word attack loosely.
Yeah.
But technically, I think we can understand why they did what they did.
Yeah, it's counter their family. It's like this countercultural, I guess.
Exactly.
For what they're promoting. And like I said, I can see where it becomes relevant if you think that 900,000 study permits active, and even if like 50% of those have spouses, like
Right.
the math just not mathing.
Not mathing
It
at
don't
all.
add up. It don't add up.
Not
So
at all.
that's definitely and I think what they're seeing is like, okay, how can we cut things
And the
down
amount of people.
significantly quickly? And that is like literally, it could be like a 500,000 people chop easily.
Yeah, that is so
Easily.
true.
And they don't necessarily contribute to directly, let us say, because the students pay school fee. The spouses are not necessarily paying, there's no money associated with them coming apart from joining the labor force, right? And
Directly,
so they're not necessarily going to see an immediate
benefit.
income loss, or then there's no income loss immediately when the government says, all right, cut off the spousal work permit. But what I think the ripple effect is that some people may opt no longer, not to go to school anymore just because of this change.
Exactly. Because that was one of the streams and one of the mechanisms that was easier to have your family immigrate to Canada and have them there with you. I found my file. So apparently it's 2 sections.
Okay.
Welcome to Quebec. So there's one section that I had to file immediately in directly on the Quebec government website where I
Mhm.
got all those information. But then we have a thing called ARIMA that's where we submit our francization information through. And also that's where we upload all the information that we need to submit to the government. So that's their software application that we use. So I submitted in the 18th of June, 2021. And by the 7th, the 5th of after June come out, July, I
Mhm.
got my response. So around about a couple weeks.
3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
But then here is the thing that I'm not sure they're gonna do. When I landed here, I had to reapply to the government to ask them for a physical copy of the actual attestation. Attestation being used loosely here.
Mhm. Mhm.
So even though we got a letter to say, okay, you're being accepted and we can use that to submit for the permit, when we came here to Quebec, we had to confirm that we are here in the country. And so the actual certificate was
Mhm.
issued to us by mail. You didn't
Oh.
collect that before.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. So I'm not sure if that might be a method that they might adopt
Mhm.
from the Quebec process to
Mhm.
kind of confirm that, okay, yes, you're here in Canada now,
Mhm.
and you have a mailing address.
Mhm.
But that's one of the things that we had to do.
Okay. Okay. But well, sorry, when you applied to Quebec and got this, let us say, attestation letter, that had to be part of your study permit application, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
Okay.
couldn't submit without it.
Which is the case right now. As of January 22nd, which is last week Monday, you cannot submit a study permit application without an attestation letter. And right now, provinces don't have a process in place that has been made public anyway, that is clear to say this is how you get an attestation letter. But if they are going to learn from Quebec, how you get an attestation letter in Quebec, which is called something else in Quebec, is you go
Right.
to the province's website and you follow their procedure based on the website. So they give you a form and they give you all the documents to upload, and you apply. You basically have a portal on the province's website to handle that process. And it took about 2 to 3 weeks for her to get it in Quebec.
And I think their process is pretty streamlined right now.
Yes, because they have it figured out and they've been doing it for years. So let us hope that the rest
Yeah.
of them will follow suit.
I'm seeing a question on YouTube. In the YouTube chat, Kim88 says, is a letter of explanation needed for the attestation letter? In Quebec, no. The other provinces, I don't think they know either.
Question mark. Question mark, question mark, question mark. That's a great question though, Kim. If I had to guess, I would say no, but that's literally guessing. It's literally guessing. Don't take me to church. By the way, guys, I just want to say, put a disclaimer out there that this is an information session. Nothing we say here should be acted up on without consulting with an immigration consultant. We take no liability for if we say something and you take action and you don't get the desired result. This is an information only session. Disclaimer. All right. Yes, they contribute to taxes, Kim. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's super, super, super important. But I think the government was trying to say, all right, where is the least immediate impact for income generation immediately? And they're like, okay, let us just put a scissors through a potential 360,000 people on one. Yeah, man. Kim, last time you got like participant of the live, right? I think I'm pretty sure. Like she was super active in the last live. She got a prize. We connected afterwards. And so yes, Kim. Kim, it looked like you might be getting another prize today. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. Anybody want to outdo Kim for sure. I think we have Seema over here on Zoom asking me a question here. Do you have to have French? This might be a good question for you, Rochelle. Do you have to have French to apply for that province program in Quebec? Let me tell you something. Quebec is a different country. All right. I just wanted to say that. So I don't know which program we're talking about in Quebec, but Quebec is a different country. So Rochelle right now is in Quebec. We don't know to stay or to go. It's still kind of up in the air because qualifying for a direct route to permanent residency in Quebec has its own
rigmaroles, to say the least.
special needs
Yes.
situation.
But to answer her question, and the question is if to get the certificate of acceptance, which we're loosely calling attestation letter, if French was needed for that. That's the question, right?
No, well, she said, I maybe because she asked it around the time when you were talking about applying for that attestation letter. But she says, do you have to have a French certificate to apply for that province program in Quebec? I'm thinking if you can clarify for me on here on Zoom, Seema, if you're talking about an immigration program in Quebec or school in
Or a
Quebec.
school program. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need clarity.
If you can clarify on there. So while you do that, let's go over here. Javon, hi, welcome. These changes could mean that the CRS score will drop significantly, and that means people, again, would have to get PR through only human capital points alone. Maybe. I don't know. See, right now, CRS scores to me signify that they are looking for very high skilled people with either a lot of experience or a lot of education or very young, and a combination of those three. So that's what high CRS scores mean to me, that they're trying to weed out sort of the lower skilled, less in demand, because now they have a special category for the in-demand occupations, right? So they have those 5 categories. So they know that the in-demand people will be captured by those categories. Everybody else, they want high-skilled, high education, all of that. That's what high scores mean to me. So I don't know if these changes mean that they will drop significantly. For the sake of people who are already here, I hope the points drop significantly, because this number of international students in Canada didn't get to this point overnight or by accident. Their permits were approved, but now there's lots of people who don't have there's lots of people who don't have a way of staying in Canada. That's the truth, right? Because there's too many. Okay, Rochelle, are you fluent in French? You can answer in French.
No. Mais j'apprends le français à francisation, so I am learning French. So in Quebec, there is a francisation program that all immigrants who land in Quebec, as soon as you land in Quebec, you can apply for francisation once they have an opening. But there are some issues with that now that it is centralized by the government, which we will move on from. So once it is that you apply for a francisation, you are placed in a center, and they have centers all over the province. You can begin learning. And I guess now, actually, I'm gonna look up. You remember we had this conversation, Christina, about the levels. The levels, the Quebec, the French levels for Francophone acceptance here in Quebec. I'm gonna pull up.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can go and look up that in the meanwhile. I'm going to answer this question here. I think it's relevant to who is over here on Zoom with us. Is there a pathway for me to permanent residence since I am 57 years old? Now, we know that there are multiple permanent residency pathways in Canada, different streams, and ones that are more appropriate for people who are in a certain age range and such, because express entry no longer validates your existence after 45. Sorry, no point, 0. It's after 45. And I think that this person may be an international student here in Canada, or maybe in the process of trying to transition into permanent residency in Canada. And so at 57 years old, you're an international student, you're here already, presumably. There is the Atlantic Immigration Program. There is the Rural and Northern Immigration Program. And we know right now that that program may or may not be extended, but this is an overnight government, it seems. So we will know the night before the pilot is supposed to expire, probably. There is provincial nominee programs, especially if you are an international student in any one of these provinces. There are special international student streams that once you get a job, you can potentially qualify. There are other small pilot programs that, depending on the industry that you're in and such like that. So this is a broad question. The short answer is yes. And then the long answer is also, it depends on everything else to do with you apart from your age, your industry, your location in terms of which province you're in. There's a bunch of things that come together to answer that question holistically. But there are options for a 57-year-old. You are close to retirement, so it does mean, you gotta be strategic about it. Okay, Javon. Javon is high skilled. Okay, Javon, you have 1 point for being high skilled. And learning French, yeah, 50 points to learn French. And let's see, you must get through. Hopefully, and fingers are crossed for you. Let me know where you are, Javon. I'm guessing you're somewhere in Ontario. Are you a student? Are you working right now on your postgraduate work permit? Let me know where you are in the process. PNPs outside of international students are hard. This is true. This is true. And the reason I want a PNP for this question, because I'm pretty certain that the person who asked this question is a postgraduate work permit holder in Canada or an international student in Canada. It is true that provincial nominee programs outside of international students can be tricky, and it is province specific. It is also going to be in-demand skills specific. Okay. Did you find what you were looking for, Miss Lady?
Yes, I did. But the question that I'll share that, but I was also looking for some other information that I found in terms of the what's that word? In French is bilan. The requirements for each level and what you're supposed to know. Seeing that what's his name in the chat, Javon, had said he's highly skilled. So I'm gonna look for that link later on and provide it to you so that you can look to see what your level is and have an idea of which one of the levels you are. Christina, do I have permission to share? I doubt it.
I will have to check. Hold on. And you know what? I love that. Thank you so much, Javon, for actually even talking about French and bringing this up. Another pathway, there is an allotment in the overall cap, yearly cap of 500,000 for 26,000. This is like probably one of the biggest groups, 26,000 people within the
Francophone
in French speaking program. So if you can listen, if you're thinking about going to school for a second semester to get a 2-year work permit or whatever, oh my gosh, I can't think and talk at the same time to let you share screen.
Just make me a co-host and it will fix everything.
I did it. I had to stop thinking. If you're thinking like, oh gosh, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get to stay in Canada. Let me go study. Let me go to school for another year and pay another $19,000. Just go and pay a tutor or go and pay for any one of those French Alliance programs. Adrian, right now, if you're still here online on thing there, tell me how your French is going, how your French program is growing. There are cost-effective ways to study and learn French, way more cost-effective than whatchamacallit, another year of school, right? Just learn some French and pass your French test. That's really what you need to do. It doesn't mean that you're gonna work in French, and it doesn't mean you need to move to Quebec. And you just need to
even though Quebec would be very happy to give you a stipend for learning.
Yeah.
So, okay, if you can see my screen.
Yes.
This is the setup for part-time classes here in Quebec. So there are 2 ways that you can learn. You can do it either full-time courses or you can do part-time courses. I'm currently doing part-time courses. So it's sectioned into semesters. So let me see. Oh, you can't. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but anyways.
Yeah, I can see
you can. Okay, perfect. So I'm currently doing this section where you do 3 semesters, 3 sessions. Let me start over. 3 classes per week.
Okay.
For 3 hours.
Okay.
Right?
What? 3 per week?
3 per week for 3 hours.
3 hours per class or 3 total per week?
No, 3 hours per class.
Oh, what is school?
Yes.
Full-time school.
3 hours per class. So here we go. So 9 hours, semaine is week. So 9 hours per week. 12 hours per week where you do 2 classes and it's like 6 hours per session. Or you can do 6 hours per week where it's broken up into 3 per session. And then there's this one for 4 hours to me, which never makes sense, but based on your schedule, you'll do whatever you need to do. And they kind of indicate it in the code here. So level 0 is for the person who knows nothing, which was me. So you start at level 0, you matriculate to level 1 and then level 2. And then once you've completed this block in blue, you get it's not like a certificate, but you get like a billing. It's called a billing. And essentially it shows you have to do an exam. So you do the reading, the writing, the listening, and which one am I missing? Speaking. Right. So you do that exam, and then once you've completed it well, then you matriculate into this pink block here.
Okay. Grade 2.
So basically, so for me, each block each level here consists of 3 months. So now I'm in FIA 2091, so I'm at level 3 now. And that started in January, the second week of January, and it will end in March.
And that's just that gets you level 1 only. 3 months.
So now, yeah. So for 3 months, it gets you up a level, except for like here where they're teaching both third and fourth. But
at what point can you go and take the test? Let us say that the test don't require you to show proof that you actually studied. You just need to go pass the test. Is there a point in here? Like, because this just sounds long.
This is long. So this is just what Quebec has done. So I'm just showing you from Quebec perspective what the government has provided for people who want to do part-time courses. I imagine persons who are doing full-time can do more classes per session, and so they'll be able to complete quicker. But this is the concept for Quebec. So the thing about it as well is that what I would suggest is that you compare what a level 7 requirements is. That's why I'm gonna find that link that kind of explains to us what are the particular requirements, the curriculum that you're supposed to have, what you're supposed to know to be considered a level 7. And then if you are on that level, to the best of your knowledge, by all means, go and do the test. By all means.
And that's the whole thing is that you don't need to show nobody that you go to no school to do that. You need to pass a test. That is how you
No, you don't need to. But the only benefit to it, especially for a student, that is a free income right there. Because we are paid to learn French and we love it over here.
And then Javon mentioned, 3 hours. I thought up to 3 hours per class for 3 times a week. That's intense. That's some real stuff. Like, that's real. And Adrian is one of our club members here, saying he's struggling with French. Adrian, is it self-paced, Adrian? Because you're going to a class. You're going to a physical class.
Yeah, I'm going to a physical class.
Are you going to a physical class, Adrian? Remind me. Or is it self-paced online? I feel like it's harder on your own.
I think so too, because I've tried it and But actually, I found 2 books. Well, one particular book that has been helping me. Do I have it close by? No, but I can send the Amazon link. That I find it explains the various concepts in English. So you can understand like the use of pronouns, the different articles. The main thing with French though, the main issue with French is that that in comparison to English is that in French, everything is either masculine or feminine. We're not used to that. So if it's a pen, is a pen, is a pen.
Yeah, same in Spanish.
However, in French, lo estilo. So it's a masculine, and then that changes the whole sentence, and you have to remember. For example, I it was weird for me finding out that Jamaica is considered a feminine country in French.
Mm,
So if you're speaking about, if you're using the articles for Jamaica, it is feminine.
yeah,
So
I think
that
that's
to me
similar
is the
to
hardest
Spanish.
thing.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Language. So Adrian is in a physical class and it's still a little bit of a struggle. I understand. Language is a struggle. All right. We're going to touch on these questions now relative to these new changes. So here's one other question that we have from one of our attendees here or somebody who submitted a question. I am already an international student in Canada. Does the new update affect my spousal open work permit application for my spouse? Now, I don't know if you're asking me this question because the spouse already has the permit or you need to apply. Right now, based on the announcement, there is nothing in effect yet for the spousal open work permit. They said that in the coming weeks, they are going to make an announcement. Now, they can covertly reject your application, like reject the application and to input that this change without announcing it. You're saying. But right now, there's nothing in effect. And so technically you can still apply for an open work permit for your spouse because there's nothing legally binding yet for this application process with spousal open work permits. But if you're already here, and the next question actually is probably going to speak to that. What if the open work permit visa is already granted? Will it have an effect? My spouse has been granted a student visa, but it's not a master's or doctorate program. So they both have their study permits and their work permits already, and they're scheduled to go to Canada in April. No, they're not going to, they will not be taking back any of the already approved applications, right? Everything in terms of the study permit and all of that is in effect as of January the 2nd. That's just for not January 2nd, January the 22nd. That is for the application attestation letter, but nothing is in effect yet for the spousal work permit, and they will not be retracting applications if you already have it. So you should be good to land in Canada in April and smooth kind of sailing. Cool. Hi. Big up yourself, K-Sang. All right, here's another question here. Will I get a 3-year postgraduate work permit for graduate certificate in recent changes for graduate level and master's level? So this is one of the maybe kind of confusing things that they did announce that I don't think is very clear. You remember, Rochelle, they were like, so shorter master's programs and doctorate programs will get
We'll
a
get a
3-year
longer.
postgraduate work permit, and then they threw the word in graduate level programs.
Which is
Graduate,
vague.
which is vague because a postgraduate certificate is a graduate level program, but it's from a college. Do the colleges qualify for this? Is it only university level? It is unclear right now as to where that extension will apply. For the sake of these people on studying for 1 year in Canada on a postgraduate work permit, I hope that there's an extension for you guys. Because it's better for you guys. Like, I know Adrian is in this situation. Adrian just got his work permit, postgraduate, well, not just, but is on a 1 year postgraduate work permit, which is tight. I was on a 1 year postgraduate work permit, and it's tight. It's pretty tight. And if you can get a little bit of room to breathe and get your points and such like that, it's so much better. So right now it's unclear. I don't know. Do I need a provincial attestation for a graduate certificate? There is an exemption for recent changes for masters and postgraduate permits. Again, it's not clear. It's not like they made this announcement, and I think very loosely to give you an idea of what's coming, and they will firm it up in the coming weeks, and then it should get clearer as time progresses. But for right now, attestation letters seem to be needed for any study permit application. I don't remember seeing any exemption for this attestation letter. Do you remember seeing an exemption?
No, I don't.
Even if it was masters, I don't remember an exemption for the type of study. It's just like study permit application. If you're just joining us over on YouTube, feel free to drop some questions in the chat. Let us know where you're joining in from over on YouTube. Thank you over here on Zoom. Feel free to chime in as well. If you have any questions, let me know. So I'm going to continue with the questions here. Do I need, so that I answered that question. am I under the cap for graduate certification? Do you remember if the cap, I don't remember the cap being specific to a certain level of study. The cap
No,
was the cap on international
overall.
students. It
Yeah,
was sounded like an overall cap because the I can see where they said, okay, spouses of graduate level or doctorate or masters, whatever, can come because they want ideally those people to stay in Canada.
right.
So, but the cap, the problem they're trying to solve with the cap is one, there are
Population,
shortages, population control, essentially,
essentially.
right? And so population control is not going to be relative to the type of studies and stuff. But I do know that they're targeting certain provinces to have a greater cap than other provinces. And so should you be looking at Ontario or BC? Probably not. It's not that nobody will get a study permit for these provinces, but it is an indication that these provinces are overpopulated with international students, and it really got away. And other provinces may have a smoother sailing pathway towards permanent residency than these two provinces right now. So hopefully that answers your question. The cap seems to be a general cap, not specific to the type of things, but they can covertly implement whatever they want to implement behind the scenes within that cap without saying. International students will need to attach a provincial attestation to the study permit. Yes. That was a statement, okay? No work permit for spouses unless the student is exempt, except for a physician. No open work permit for spouses. The group of people that are exempt are masters and doctorates. I will double check here. Here's what in their official announcement, anything outside of that is an assumption. Their official announcement is that in the weeks ahead, open work permits will only be available to spouses of international students in master's and doctoral programs. The spouses of international students in other levels of studies, including undergraduate and college programs, are no longer eligible. That is the official statement from the
And while
government.
you're doing that, I'll put that in the chat on
The official
YouTube
announcement. Yes.
and also in Zoom.
Oh, remember to share the Amazon link for the French book.
Yes, I will.
Thank you. So anybody who is exempt outside of that in terms of the kind of profession or what they're studying has not been made clear in the official statements. Like there's other, like, so the minister sat with CBC News, and so he's saying other things and they're loosely, but we can't really take it to church yet until we see black and white of these are the rules that you must follow and abide by. Okay. Will students' work permit expire upon graduation? This is a great question. That this is not something that they mention in the announcement, but that would be, I'm curious to know what the plan is therefore with the length of the study permits. Very curious. You know what, I think one other reason why they extended the postgraduate work permits to 3 years for certain levels of study is because based on the yearly cap for permanent residents in total, all of Canada, 500,000, you need more time to fall into
Fine, yeah. Knock.
years from now because you're likely, everybody can't fit in the yearly cap for 2024, 2025, or 2026 if there are 900,000 applications, like open study permits, study permits that exist right now, right? Because only a fraction of those will contribute to the 500,000 overall people who can stay in Canada. A fraction. Go and learn French. Go and pay some money and learn some French.
Like overall, it makes sense though. And at first, speaking about that, at first I was like a bit hesitant to the concept. But when you look at it overall, it's an asset. Learning a new language is an
Mm-hmm.
asset, and wherever you go in Canada, it will help you, because there are people who there are people who speak English,
Mm-hmm.
but because from a government perspective, it's been, I don't want to use the word forced, but loosely that's what it is. You're being coerced into keeping the language alive, particularly here in Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
And so you find that people will, even though they see you struggling to speak in French, they will continue in their French even though they know English and they know you only speak English. So either way, it's gonna be an asset for you learning French. And it's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be an asset for you in your immigration profile, because if you do the exam, I think it's what, 50 points
Mm-hmm.
for the language, the French language test. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so so getting the 50 points is helpful for express entry, but outside of express entry, there is the Francophone immigration allotment,
Program.
which is outside of express entry, kind of.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So that is definitely something
Let
to
me
take into
also share
consideration. I am trying to find I'm trying to do this thing for Adrian real quick. Excuse my clearing of throat before we pop back into the next questions. But in the meanwhile, in between time, drop some more questions in the chat while I get this all together.
And I'm dropping the book, the French book.
Yes.
Computer. I'm dropping the French book in the chat that I've personally used in class. I ain't got no shame.
No.
To make sure that I understand concepts. Because the thing about it too is that not all of the French teachers speak English.
That
So
is my experience too at Ebony's in French daycare, and some of the people that I'm talking to them in English, they don't understand.
yeah. So it's hard to explain certain concepts in terms of syntax and grammar in English for you to understand and make that comparison to get it. And one piece of advice to those who are learning, do not try to direct translate. Don't do that.
All right. We
Don't
need
do
to go and learn French and become a French tutor so that we can have you to tutor.
that. I should, eh?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I should consider it.
Yes,
I'll write it
ma'am.
down on my vision board.
Okay, here is a really good question. Will spouses be able to renew their work permits? So you know that you have a work permit that is attached to the study permit, and when the study permit expires and they transition to a postgraduate work permit, the spouses usually can apply for an extension. This is a really weird in-between point. I would like to say on a humanitarian level, they should renew. They should allow renewal because they're already here. You allow them to come here, let them continue to be here. But really and truly, we don't know.
Exactly. Because they never said anything about that at all. The news only spoke to new applicants. There's nothing there for renewed.
Yeah, it's not clear, but that's a really good question and a really good concern. But I would like to think on a humanitarian level that they would allow renewals to happen, just no new ones by the time they like announce this whole thing. No, so there's a comment over here from Kim. Graduate level jobs aren't the only ones that are in demand. Butchers are in demand and they don't need a master's to study butchering. So this is true, Kim. So this is where the category-based express entry draws come in to capture all of the in-demand jobs that are not master's or doctorate level, right? So the butchers are part of the trades draws. They're part of their own subset of people. So they can draw from those pools with lower points, knowing well that they're capturing the in-demand fields. And so the general express entry pools, all they need to do is weed out not weed out, but pick out the good people. And I'm using these terms loosely, guys, because it's just like how it is presented with high points mean like, okay, you are creme de la creme. So in the general pool now, they just pick out the floaters from the top and scoop them out and say, you guys have enough points because you have a lot of things going on for your age, they say that. And then everybody else who is in demand are part of the category-based draws. So this is, I think, so that Kim, I think your comment was about the, the high express entry points and stuff like that. So that's my analysis of that. What about the parent of an undergraduate student? Parents have their own stream in the parent and grandparent sponsorship, which right now is basically like a lottery, not even basically, it's like a lottery system if you bought your lotto tickets like 2 years ago. Right. Because last year, when they opened up the parents and grandparents, the intake that they took was people who showed interest to sponsor in 2020, 3 years before, right? So anybody who showed interest to sponsor who was interested in 2023 was not a part of the draw or the offering, or they was just not eligible.
If I remember correctly, aren't they closing down that program right now? Like putting a hold on it or something?
No, well, not to my knowledge. Right now, I base a lot of things based on the target levels table that they announced in November, and parents and grandparents are on their 2024, 2025, 2026 with an allotment there. So the question is, how are they going to be dealing with it going forward is the question. Anybody who is joining us here on YouTube, let us know in the chat if these changes have shaken up your plans of coming to Canada or have turned you off from coming to Canada. I want to get the overall sentiment. So put a 1 in the chat if these changes, okay, I understand. I'll still figure my way out because I still want to come to Canada. Or 2, if you are like, I don't know about Canada anymore because these changes are kind of scary and they have in fact impacted me greatly. So 1 in the chat if you're like, I'm still going, I'll figure it out, government. And 2, if you're like, no, I can't bother. Or sorry for the non-Jamaicans. 2, if you don't want to do it anymore. Advantages of French. Yes, French has their advantages. Yes. Kim, can the province demand that students pay their first semester tuition in order to have an attestation letter?
That's a good question.
Great question. They can do whatever they want, really.
But overall, we know that from day one that it's a good idea to show interest, because paying your first semester tuition essentially says to the government that I am serious about coming to study. I'm not just starting this process and then about to abandon it. So from day one, that was one of the things that I did that. But also a good question to ask the institution is, if I am rejected for the study permit, will I be refunded any of the semester's tuition? That was one of the questions that I asked my school before I paid that over. And so that is a good question to use going forward, just to make sure that if you do pay the first semester's tuition, but you did not get it through with your attestation, much less the study permit, that at least you know you will be getting back some of your money.
And that is your safety net for saying, okay, when you pay the tuition anyway, whatever.
Exactly.
So, and I think another thing to consider is now with all this processing time. So let us say, hypothetically speaking, that you're trying to come from May intake or September intake. So the permit applications are basically on hold until provinces figure it out. And they've given the provinces a deadline of March 31st, right? So another 2 months.
Oh my goodness.
Another 2 months, right? So what the school needs to also reassure you that if things don't happen in time, 1, can you defer, 1, can you withdraw? If you don't get your study permit by the time school is supposed to start and it's too late in the semester, you need to find out what your rights are or what your refund policy is. Don't pay 2 tuition deposits on 2 colleges. Okay, you've paid the deposits. It's still you're still in, because you're not here yet, right? So still go and get the information. Go to them and say, look, I paid these deposits. All these new changes have come out for the study permits. What is my refund policy? What is my refund policy? And how much of a deposit is a deposit as well? definitely ask them some questions. So Kim wants us to talk about the effect on the colleges and universities.
Hey,
And
let's start with mine.
okay, let's start with yours.
That fell off the
Travis.
DLI list.
Did they fall off? Oh, yes, right.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, fell off of the DLI or fell off of postgraduate work permit?
Postgraduate work permit, sorry.
Okay, because they're still a
They were
designated
no
learning
longer,
institution.
I think though that they fell off the DLI. I
Did
might
they?
be. I'm gonna check it.
Let's check.
Separately.
So a designated learning institution is an institution that has permission basically to have intake of international students, basically. So if you're not on a designated learning institution, they don't necessarily have permission to give you acceptance as an international student.
We know that they were no longer able to give PGWP
mhm,
because they're a private institution.
yeah,
And but also now they are not able to, let me go back to what the minister said.
While
Because
you
he said
find
something
that,
about private institutions that they're doing a calm down on that.
yes, private ones that had public-private partnerships that allowed some level of possibility for someone to get a postgraduate work permit. And while you look for that, your experience actually is probably a perfect example of what could happen at some of the private colleges, because the private college thing comes into effect for September 1st, 2024. So anybody who is currently in a private college who before September 1st, 2024 is eligible for a postgraduate work permit will continue to have that until September the 1st. And what your college did was expedite the speed up the semester and removed all the breaks so that you would graduate before those changes come into effect. And it might be a response of other private colleges for students that are currently in there who are probably slated to finish in December, and now they're probably going to expedite it so they finish in September instead or August instead, so that they get their full length of a postgraduate work permit. We'll see.
But even if the institution does that, one thing to be certain of is that the amount of hours that you need to complete are actually completed. Because that was one of the things for us that we're supposed to do 1,100 hours. Fast tracking it would just mean more hours each week. But you had to ensure that at the end of the day, when you get your transcript, you have fulfilled that 1,100 hours as stipulated on your study permit. So if in any case where the school is gracious enough, and it could be a question that you pose because everybody's like scrambling right now.
Yeah.
If you're posing that question, make sure that whatever solution comes about is one that will essentially fulfill the requirements that you have underneath your study permit, and it will fulfill the transcript requirements at the end of the day.
And you would think or hope that the school taking this action is taking the action with the intention of making sure that at the end of the day, you get the certificate that you're supposed to get within all hours, hopefully, that they thought about all of that. Because that's the
You
whole
would hope, but one thing I find, especially in Canada, especially when an announcement comes like this from the government, is that everybody feels overwhelmed and a lot of things fall through the cracks at this point. Because there were days when we had to be talking with administration, asking about this, asking about that. Also, I'm not sure if this is similar for other institutions. We had to re-sign a contract for school, indicating that we accept the changes and whatnot. So you might have to go through that process. There were some students who opted to go to another university for another program. So if you're in a private institution, you can consider that. But then I guess you'd have to request an extension on your study permit if you only have it for like a year or 2 years. So I would say research. We always say research, research, research. and see what information is out there that is specific to your situation, because we can only make assumptions and speak based on what we have experienced, but
Mhm.
each person's situation is different, and you
Yeah.
have to accept that accordingly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And each college will deal with things differently, and things could play out differently. And like you said, everybody's scrambling right now, things will fall through the cracks. So make sure that you cover your own behind. Okay. Kim asked which college fell off the designated learning institution list. We don't know.
So it didn't
So,
fall off the DLI list,
mm-mm,
but you're just not
eligible for a postgraduate work
eligible for
permit.
postgraduate work permit. So
Mhm.
that is good.
That is Trebas University. Is it
Trebas
university?
Institute. It's not even a
Institute.
university.
Okay.
Trebas Institute. Although
Okay.
their programs are really good, but
Mhm. Mhm.
life.
So other impacts on the schools and the colleges, some private schools may go out of business. We don't know. We'll see how that plays out. And like the minister said, this is a method or means to eradicate fraud and to protect a lot of you guys from being part of an agenda that does not have your best interest at heart, because some of them were intaking people with the promise of permanent residency, and there's no promise of permanent residency if you come to Canada as a student. There's no promise. There's no guarantee, right? There are means and ways and methods that we can try. But yes.
And also there were persons who were exploiting the 8 months minimum for study
Mhm.
to obtain the PGWP, and so they're trying to eradicate that.
Yes, because that wasn't the goal, especially
Yes.
given that they're trying to do this high skill thing, people who will fill labor shortages. Immigration is not about you. Like immigration in its nature is a selfish endeavor on the part of the welcoming country and the part of the interested person who is interested in immigration, right? The country cares about the country. The country cares about filling labor shortages, filling labor gaps, provide like the aging population, replacing people who are going into retirement. The country cares about how immigration is going to help the country and build the country. They're not thinking about, oh, there's some people in this country and they could have a much better life if they came to Canada. So let's let them come to Canada. No, it's not about you. And then you as an immigrant, of course, have your own agenda, which is fine, that you want a better life and you think that Canada can provide that for you. So therefore you seek out Canada. Not thinking that, you put on your superhero cape and say, let me help Canada fill their labor shortages. Dun, dun, right? So you have to kind of just figure out where you fall and find out what the best route and option is and all of that to make your agenda possible within what Canada allows. Other colleges obviously are going to lose money. I think that is a given. I think if they do something, there's an effect. If they don't do anything, there's an
There
effect.
is an effect.
So there's no win-win situation. It's like a lose-lose, regardless of which way you go, so to speak. But there is a win ultimately because it has good intentions, all these changes and such. So loss of revenue,
Okay.
like there's immigration fairs. I don't know if the upcoming immigration fairs will even still happen, given that study permits are on hold. I don't know.
There is a section in the news release for October 27, 2023, saying starting December 1, 2023, post-secondary designated learning institutions will be required to, no, that's not the one I'm looking for. I just saw it a while ago. It's the part about there are some students. Okay, I got it. Starting September 1, 2024, international students who begin a study program that is part of a curriculum licensing arrangement will no longer be eligible for a postgraduate work permit upon graduation. Under curriculum licensing agreements, students physically attend a private college that has been licensed to deliver the curriculum of an associated public college. These programs have seen significant growth in attracting international students in recent years, though they have less oversight than public colleges, and they act as a loophole with regards to postgraduate work permit eligibility. So if you're in this particular situation, probably probably consider finding another program that
Mhm.
you can transfer to. Because under study permit, you're allowed to transfer to another program.
Mhm. Trebas is a private institution, correct?
Yes.
Is there a relationship with a public college that you know of or a public institution that you know of?
No.
So your program, even though they've taken it off of the eligibility, it wouldn't have fallen under this curriculum licensing program.
No, it wouldn't have.
No. So it's going to be interesting. I guess we'll probably do a video on just that. Is like what programs fall under these curriculum licensing programs that no
I
longer.
think that's more for universities.
Yes.
Universities that have colleges or private institutions associated with them. So that might be that. I think that's what is speaking of in particular.
So I'm wondering, therefore, if private colleges will lose postgraduate work permit possibility altogether or certain curriculum licensing programs. That's going to be the
That's a gray area.
question.
That's a gray area.
And Kim thinks that one of the effects on colleges and schools is that some courses and programs will no longer have, some courses or programs will no longer be offered, potentially. Potentially, if there's not enough students to fill the classes, they're not going to keep the classes. And, even local universities have to go out and have college fairs to recruit Canadians to come to college. Like the whole landscape of education is changing, and fewer and fewer people are going to college as people have side hustles and other ways of making money that have nothing to do with going to school.
But you know what has increased? Because that's exactly what happened to my school. Like all of a sudden, I was seeing advertisements at bus stops, on the bus back, in the metro. So all of a sudden they were offering even scholarships and referral financial prize for referring
To
to
get people to
domestic
come to school.
students as a student of Trebas. There was a referral program that we could have been a part of. But also I think it opens up another avenue for more certificate courses, because I'm finding that even though domestic are not, they're already in their mind thinking of certain universities, those certain universities that you have to get into this particular university to be somebody. However, professional certification might see an increase. That's my speculation. That professional certification might see an increase in domestic uptake. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Time will tell. I remember there was a comment further up about, instead of having a general cap that applies to everybody, can it cap people from a certain country? That's discrimination. It's discrimination, guys. It's discrimination. So we're not even gonna go there. The government will get, you can ruin international relations, start wars, all kind of weird things when you start to exclude people, certain types of people from certain parts of the world and all that stuff. That's discrimination. It's not fair to people from that country as well. So no. If PR is no guarantee after your postgraduate work permit is up and a person applies to the all known PR routes and they can't find any, do they have to leave Canada? This question is always on my mind. If you can't find a pathway to permanent residency and your status expires, you can go on visitor's record while you continue to explore explore options. But if you've exhausted all of them, which I think is not very likely, it's like lotto. It's like a lotto. Having exhausted all of your possible options and never ever being able to stay, I think is not very likely. If you came and studied and had a postgraduate work permit. If you fall out of status, yes, you have to leave the country. Does that mean that your chance is completely gone? No, because you already technically have the points for express entry because you went to school, you worked in Canada, all these things. And so you can continue to try for an immigration program until you get through. But the possibility of exhausting all possible pathways and not getting through, I think, is slim, because all possible pathways may require things like, learning French, may require things like moving to Atlantic Canada, may require things like getting an LMIA or something. That there's way too many options for a postgraduate work permit holder to run out of options, I think. Now, your age and all of these things come into play, and so you have to target specific programs. But I think that if you don't do that process on your own, is what I would say.
Yeah.
Don't try to explore all the things on your own because your knowledge is limited. And if you have help, you're most likely to succeed on getting through with some sort of pathway of the sort. It just might take you longer than you expected because, like we said, the math is not mathing. There's too many international students and they cannot they fill up the international student cap for every year easily. And so maybe over the next 10 years before all of those people get some sort of way to stay. But in the future is always like a possibility as the cap resets every January 1st, 2024. So
one thing also to consider is to be part of a community, especially if you're from Jamaica. There are various Jamaican communities that you can be a part of where information is shared. As a shameless plug, this is one YouTube channel that's obviously information is being shared, and there is ability to get more information specific to your situation. So make use of these channels that are offering help, whether paid or not paid. Sometimes you have to spend the money in order to get your situation sorted out. So make use of that. Make use of that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to explain what your situation is. You might get a few persons who might not be able to help, but you never know. There are people here who have been through various circumstances, and trust me, the situations can be many and varied and unique, but probably your situation is not as unique as you originally thought. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help.
Yes. We're going through this jungle together. We're out the other end and we're just kind of like sticking our hand in to help pull you through the jungle. I won't read some of these comments here. You guys are having a little dialogue between yourselves. Yes, you guys want to talk about the people them. Who no business that. Okay. What are your recommended as a study? The heart is blocking this
Graduate.
study areas outside of master's programs. I don't know what you're asking, Kim, if you're talking about the level of study in terms of certificate, bachelor's, doctorate, master's, or if you're talking about project management, graphic design, media. And you have to be a little bit more specific, Kim. We are going to go actually for another 10 minutes on this Q&A. This has been good. This has been a good discussion. I appreciate you so much for being on it today. We know the backstory. I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much. And you actually are so helpful in even understanding what the attestation process could look like. We're hypothesizing here, but it's possible that it could even resemble what Quebec is going through. And then your school fell out of postgraduate work permit eligibility status, so that went through. So you are like the perfect person to join.
I'll be the guinea pig. I'll be the guinea pig.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Give us a thumbs up for Rochelle for joining us here on Sunday at 3 p.m. on Quebec and Immigrants. Rochelle is an OG, just so you guys know. Rochelle is one of my, when you have just 1 and 2 subscribers, and you know them by name. Rochelle was following me from 2019, and her name stood out to me because she was always commenting and active, kind of like Kim. So Kim, I will know you forever. Kim 88. I will know you, and I will follow you along with your journey, and maybe one day we can have you here as well to share the immigration story. Absolutely. Yes, I have lives every now and again, depending on what's going on. Thank you so much for joining us. First things first, just get to the point. That's the name of the person. When I saw a comment from you, I was like, what did you say? I was like, oh, that's my name. Okay. Thank you so much. Yes, I do this here and there live interactions, maybe monthly or so, depending on what's going on. This is a special live. Usually on a Sunday, you guys get our immigration stories video, and this is this is going to shape a lot of immigration stories, this news. So I thought it fits to have this today. Next week, Sunday, we're going to back to our scheduled programming. Next week, we're going to hear from the Bahamian who came to Canada. She had 90 days to find a job or leave the country. And she sent out over 100 applications for jobs. She got 0 responses. Then she changed her method. And the next 10 applications she sent out, she got 7 responses. And then she was able to pick, choose, and refuse which job she wanted. So I interviewed her. She's a career coach. She's an amazing person. I've known her for several years, and I can't wait to introduce it to her. So stay tuned for that next week, Sunday. And throughout the week, you guys know that you have different kinds of videos from me. You have how to move to Canada, cost of living, general immigration, success tips, all of these wonderful things, how to. Thank you so much for you joining us over here on Zoom and chiming in. Yes, there's relations, country rocking relations going on right now that we won't mention the countries. I'm going to touch on a couple more things over here on YouTube to answer the last few questions before we sign off here. If this has been helpful for you guys so far, please hit the thumbs up button, guys. Let YouTube know that this was helpful and it's worth watching. It's helpful for my channel and for our growth. So hit the like button for me. And if you're not yet subscribed, subscribe. All right. So Kim, like what's the best area of study? Law, clerks, in demand, HR in demand. The best way to know what is in demand in Canada is have a look. Go on Google and type in express entry category-based jobs, and you will see 5 categories. There's healthcare, there's transportation, there's trades, there's STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and maths, and there is one more that I can't think of right now. French, Francophone. Within that are different occupations, different knock codes that say, okay, they're looking for architects, they're looking for this, they're looking for that. And that is a good idea of in-demand careers or in-demand fields in Canada. Don't do something just because it is in demand in Canada, because you are trying to, you're paving the path towards your future, and a bad job in your own country or a job you don't like in your own country is a job you don't like in Canada. More money, snow, seasonal depression, all these things not going to make it nicer, right? So do something that you can find where you're good at, you like it, it is in demand, and find that middle point there between in demand and what you're good at and what you like, so that you can build a sustainable lifestyle for yourself. And you're not coming here to just exist, but you're coming here to thrive, right? Like our time on this planet is limited. I would hate to go out doing something that I don't care about just because I wanted to move to Canada. You know what I mean? So I know the mission, the sake of the mission, yes. And you'll hear more about that. Jet and I spoke a lot about this actually. So you'll hear more about how we feel about this in February, every Sunday, starting the 4th with Jet. So that's my advice to you, Kim. Check the list, find out what you're good at what you like, and see where that intersection comes before just following. But there's quite a number of in-demand occupations in Canada.
I think the questions from Kim, these last couple of questions are a bit specific. So I would suggest also that you try to speak with an immigration consultant or try to join one of these communities where this is being spoken about. Because the last question, if a person has a degree in HR, can I decide to switch careers and do a law clerk diploma program? I think that's very specific, and you'd have to look at what the offerings are out there and what you have now, as Christina was saying before. So it's not something, I don't think it's something that we can off the bat give you a response that is gonna be broad brushed and applicable to your particular situation. So reach out and speak to somebody about your unique situation.
And actually, Kim, for the second time in a row, this is my second live that Kim is up on top in terms of number of comments and participation, and she's here. And usually I have coaching calls. I cut out a chart, I carve out Thursday mornings between 10 and 12:30 where people can book one-on-one paid coaching sessions with me. But I think that I will gift Kim again for being up there on participation for a one-on-one coaching session with me on Thursday. At the time, we'll see if the time works for you, Kim, but we'll get together in our email. Do me a favor again, just send me an email sobercanadianimmigrants@gmail.com so we can reconnect and I can have a 20-minute coaching call with you, Kim. Oh, Jinx,
in regard to earlier we were speaking about the proficiency levels and what is required for French language. I found Quebec's conditions, but I was trying to do some research if there is conditions from Canada overall. I'm not finding that.
There is. So what I would do is to look for the Francophone, and I do have a Francophone immigration video that I've done on my channel where I likely went into what the CLB requirement is for this, right? I think it was at CLB 7. Eligibility details, and I think it depends too on the class. I'm going to redirect a question like that to my video. If I don't cover it in my video, put a comment below the video, but I would like to think that I did as a bare minimum. Let me see if I can find this video for you real quick. Here it is right on top. Perfect. Thank you for suggesting that to me, YouTube. You're kind. Copy. So here is the Francophone immigration video to know what the requirements are around that and where the Francophone communities are. So that's French. Hey guys, there's a theme here. French, consider French. Consider French.
I think I will drop that Amazon link again in the chat for that book.
Yes, Adrian, I was looking for that.
Yes, I'll send it again.
Yeah, don't quote me on it, Kim. It may be CLB 8. I'm just kind of trying to go from memory when I did that video last year, but I probably mentioned it in my video here today. If I didn't, let me know in the comment section. So I do want to go back here where Sue's 876. I applied for a study permit last year and I was denied. Sorry, you are in a boat. Like we're in the same, I was in that boat. In light of the recent changes, I'm not sure if I should reapply. So much uncertainty, plus there's a huge backlog. This is true, Kim. I don't know that the recent circumstances should be a deterrent to reapply because you got a previous rejection. I think that the recent changes is more so around, okay, are you targeting the right province right now? It's not, I don't know if it should be a deterrent or it should be like, do I need to reassess my approach and go in with a different approach or strategy, right? I don't want you to be discouraged because of a rejection. Rejections kind of go out like hot bread sometimes. I got rejected and then you just reapply. It is advisable that you get professional assistance when you are going in a second time. It doesn't guarantee you anything, but you are more likely to create a strong application with help than you are on your own, given the fact that you were rejected. And remember that if you're rejected, you need to go in and address the reasons for rejection. You don't have enough money, you need to show some more money. You don't have enough ties to your home country, you need to show more ties to your home country. Whatever the case may be, go in with a stronger application and make sure you target those points where they sorry, there's a comment.
You see the comment too.
I've lost my train of thought. Go in with an application where you're addressing these points directly and making sure it's a strong profile. And these changes, if anything, is not a deterrent necessarily, but reassess your approach. Should you be going to a school in Ontario or BC? Should you be looking outside of that? Or should you be pursuing another immigration program altogether? Right? This is just the changes are only applicable to international students. Should you be approaching the Atlantic Immigration Program, you guys know that there's probably every video on my channel, I say the word Atlantic Immigration Program, okay? Because I like the program. I think it's a really good program. I'm building a whole job list for you guys. The job list is ready and available for you guys to access right now on my website. If you want to get just the job list, or if you want to get job list and support from me, everything is there for you guys to start approaching those programs or pursuing those programs, right? So I'd say, Susie, yes, there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So it depends on how strong your why is to see if you should keep on going or not. Hi, Alea. Hi. We've been emailing or Instagramming. I don't know what the case may be. I think so, but your name looks familiar. So hello.
Christina, I think YouTube is holding on to my comment because it has a link in there. So you might need to go in the chat and release it.
I don't see it.
In the YouTube chat?
No, I don't see anything to approve. No, but YouTube may be holding on to it. Send me the link here, Sana, I will drop it in.
Yes, I'll do that.
Please. So that was hi, Alea. Yes, hello. Okay. Are there any ways that I can consider to get my tourist visa converted to a work permit? Yes, tourist visas can convert to a work permit if you find an employer who is willing to give you an LMIA, or if you target an employer who is LMIA exempt, like an employer in Atlantic Canada, who can hire you without an LMIA, and then you can convert from a visitor's visa to a work visa. You can also do that with the Rural and Northern Immigration Program. So those are probably terms that may be familiar or unfamiliar to you, but if on my channel you have access to these videos, I would go to the playlist of all immigration programs from A to Z and binge watch that to give you an idea of work programs that people can convert to through having been here as a visitor. Can a person who is here on a tourist visa obtain a job offer to be a support worker and go through the support worker pilot programs? Yes, this is possible. Okay, so this was Kim talking to that person. I'm not happy I missed this live session again. Don't worry, Aliyah, it's live, and yes, you kind of missed out on the opportunity to engage with us, but you can rewatch it. It is likely that we answered questions that were relevant to you or important to you. So just go ahead and rewatch it. If a person has a degree in HR, okay, so that was a question that we said that, you know what, get together with me, Kim as the top participant for the second time in a row. Susie is responding to somebody's comment here. I do want to talk over here. I do have a comment over here on Zoom. Hi, Adrian. West evaluation came through. Yes. How long was your processing time? Tell me, Adrian, these Zoom names
2
are
weeks.
2 weeks processing time for your West certificate. Cool. And you studied at University of West Indies in Jamaica. And did they have to send the physical thing, or you figured out the online?
So I sent them an email, and so I paid 40 US for them to do it by courier, and then I messaged them, and eventually they never gave me more money, but they sent it electronically to West.
And never give you back your money. All right. So that means that, guys, if you go to the West, watch my latest video on the World Education Service Education Credential Assessment walkthrough. There is a point when we get to when you choose a university and it says the university can send it electronically. Before you go on the website for the university and pay for anything, contact the university and see how they can send it electronically, so you don't end up paying courier fees, because I'm not going to give you back your money. Did you ask back for your money, sir?
I did ask back for my money in an email, and they just said that it was sent to West and ignored the part about the refund. But when you're doing the application when you go on the UE website to do the application for West, there's something that says email. So all you'll do is just click that, and what will happen is that you won't pay any fees for the email. You'll just pay the fees for how long it takes to prepare the transcript.
Perfect. Good information. Thank you so much, Adrian. I appreciate you.
And that's a similar situation for UTech.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you just said is basically what's in this thing, right? Then going into the experience entry pool and trying out. Okay, English test. You need to do English test, and you're going to go into the experience entry pool and you're going to try Ontario PNP. Cool. Happy to be alongside you, Adrian. I'm excited to see how things unfold for you. So, and thank you for joining on this side and chiming in. I appreciate you.
I'm not too excited myself. I'm really worried about the changes, but let's see what happens.
I'm hopeful for you, Adrian. All else fails, we need to get cracking on that French. Okay, sir?
Yes.
Yes, some of the rural and northern programs, not so much that they've been paused, but the caps have been filled for the year. There's not much intake for the rural and northern immigration programs, first things first, okay? And the program is technically set to expire by next week, by February the 1st. And so once the caps are met, the communities don't give out endorsements anymore, okay? Basil, good to see you. You are another name that I know, Basil Byfield. Byfield. You are awesome. You always comment and you always chime in and you're here. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Quebec has always had a unique immigration program compared to the rest of Canada. They were given this because they were unique, special. Yes. When I came here, everything was through the federal government. Oh, you came here a while ago.
Is Basil in Quebec?
I don't know if he's in Quebec. I know he's in Canada.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, you guys can. By the way, guys, for my friends on here who are right now in July is where we're kind of planning towards the date, Sports Day 2024. So we're getting the community together over something that we know and love and miss. We're having a sports day and family fun day, so to speak, in July. We don't have a date yet, but soon you will get more information in the coming weeks. And we're going to be sending out a link so you guys can show interest so that we know that you're interested and you want to show up and all these wonderful things. So I appreciate you guys. We are going to log off here. I did say 5 minutes ago, and now it's 4:30. So I think this is good. I appreciate you, Rochelle. I appreciate you guys on YouTube and people on Zoom who have joined us. You have been good company.
Drop those 2 links that I sent to you in the YouTube chat. I'm not sure why it didn't
Well,
come
Adrian
over.
is on here. Adrian, you see these comments, right? Pick up these Amazon links here so you can get
still do it just in case there's
thank
somebody on the
the French books.
Yeah, just in case there's somebody on the YouTube who could benefit from these, you can pick those up. So one is a French handbook for adult beginners, and the other one is a verb conjugation book. Those 2 will come in pretty handy.
Okay, cool. All right, so we're gonna sign off here, and I will answer Alea's last question because I know that she came in late. So I will just answer this question. Is it wise to get an education credential assessment for a bachelor's degree that one does not have much or no experience, or stick with doing an ECA for a high school certificate that can guarantee a better chances of landing you a job offer? An ECA is more applicable for immigration than it is for a job offer. Not that it is not valid or applicable for a job offer. The rules with an ECA is that you do it with the highest level of education, regardless of your experience, because sometimes your experience does not need to be in your education or your field of study, depending on the immigration program, right? So an ECA for your bachelor's will go a much further way than an ECA for your high school degree or diploma. So I would say ECA bachelor's, regardless of your experience, depending on what you're trying to pursue in immigration. And that's a loose answer because I don't know the backstory, right? Remember, this is not immigration consultant. This is not legal advice. This is opinion-based advice and based on my experience research. And I could probably go and get licensed as an immigration consultant. Maybe I should consider it. I don't really like the paperwork, so I don't know if I'll do it, but I'll do it just to say that I am, but I don't know that I would try to do you guys' applications for you. It's not my love language at all. Cool. I appreciate you guys. We are going to sign off here again for the millionth time. Hit the like button if this has been helpful for you. Join us for the next live. And of course, stay tuned throughout the week for every new episode that drops. This is the end. I'm going to press end stream now. Have a great Sunday, guys. It's ended on YouTube. Thank you guys on Zoom. I appreciate you guys. Thank